my name is Mohammed Barki Ali, and today I will be doing a video presentation. I hope you all enjoy, and let's get started. In Indonesia, there's a lot of historical monuments that become some sort of icon to this country. We have the Prambanan Temple, the Borobudur Temple, and the Monas, which have become the most Instagrammable monuments in the whole of India. But apparently there's more than just those three, which is why I'm going to take this video presentation to historical forts off the coast of Bengkulu. Fort Marlborough was built in the 1700s. It was built by the English government as a way to maintain control of the pepper farms around Bengkulu. It was also built as a form of defense from the Netherlands attack, who back then also invaded Bengkulu. The man who was responsible for the construction of this place is a man named Joseph Colette. Joseph Colette is a governor back then in Bengkulu at the time. That is why he is the head of operations, and he's the man who's responsible for the construction of this new fort. Joseph Colette said that the reason he built this fort is to maintain peace with the Bengkulu residents, which obviously did not went well, because in 1719, throughout its final days of construction, the fort was burned by the Bengkulu residents. The fire was so bad that Joseph Colette and the other residents inside the fort decided to evacuate immediately to a place in India called Madras. And one more thing, since they left the fort for around 5 years until they came back in 1724, Fort Marlborough became uninhabitable because of the fires and the destruction around it. Eventually, in 1724, the English government went back to Bengkulu to form some sort of peace treaty. Joseph Colette was in charge of this peace treaty, and so he made an agreement with the Bengkulu residents. And then the English residents, Joseph Colette and Joseph Colette, came back to Bengkulu in order to restore everything that was destroyed back in 1719. Now, let's talk about the functions. The other functions of this fort is to be able to withstand cannon fire. The exterior of this fort is built by a 15 times 180 centimeters layer of brick that are really, really thick. As an example, in 1760, there was an attack by the French Navy that nearly destroyed the fort, but the fort was able to withstand all of that with its massive layer of bricks. Total, there are 4 tragedies that happened in Fort Marlborough. 2 which I already mentioned, which is the 1719 arson, and then the 1760 attack by the French Navy. Now, the third one is in 1793. In 1793, there was another fire that happened in Fort Marlborough. Again, it's by the same Bengkulu residents. Then this time, however, there is a casualty. The casualty's name is Robert Hamilton. He is a captain of the English Royal Navy. He tragically died in the fire, and there's nothing that the English government can do about it. The second one happened in 1807. This time, there's also another casualty by the English governor at that time, Joseph Carr. He was killed in the fort itself at his house at the fort. And yeah, also I forgot to mention that in 1807, the reason why there's another attack is because the Bengkulu farmers at the time were doing some sort of rebellion against the English government. 1800s, after Joseph Carr died, the English has officially lost control of Bengkulu. That's why in 1807, the Netherlands took over Fort Marlborough and the rest of Bengkulu. The Netherlands used the Fort Marlborough as a Dutch military base. And then 135 years later, in 1942 till 1945, the Japanese military also used this fort. Fort Marlborough is used as a base for the Japanese police force that is placed in Bengkulu back then, and then fast forward 5 years later, after the 1945 independence of Indonesia, Indonesians get a chance to use this fort. Indonesians use this fort as a base for the Indonesian military in order to protect the rights of independence from the likes of the English, the Netherlands, and then also the Japanese, who back then tried to take back control of Indonesia. The other functions of this fort is to be able to withstand cannon fire. The exterior of this fort is built by a 15 times 180 centimeters layer of brick that are really, really thick. As an example, in 1760, there was an attack by the French Navy that nearly destroyed the fort, but the fort was able to withstand all of that with its massive layer of bricks. Now, 27 years later, in 1977, Fort Marlborough was eventually handed over to the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology of the Republic of Indonesia to become a cultural Fort Marlborough at the end. Is it still a cultural heritage site, or is it forgotten? Well, till this day it is still a cultural heritage site, but it has also turned into a tourist destination, which is why I'm going to show you. Here it is, present day Fort Marlborough. Present-day Fort Marlborough hasn't changed much. Garden is still the same as it was back then, 302 years ago. But the interior of this place is what changed. Now the barracks, living quarters, and storage tanks are used as a mini-museum to store British memorabilia that once belonged to this fort. cannons that was once used by the English now is full of rust and unusable. The upstairs area of this very majestic fort is used for taking pictures, but in the end, overall this place is still intact and pretty much the same. However, a slight problem. You see, Fort Marlborough is some sort of a hidden gem among all of the Indonesian historical places. Which is why, if you wanted to go to Fort Marlborough, you must first go to Bengkulu, of course, and then go to Benteng Road, and then from there you will find the place. Uh, Of course, you're going to be needing a plane if you're a foreigner, and if you want a cheaper option for Indonesians, you can use a bus or a train. And yeah, I say if you're a vlogger, you can probably expose this place to many people around